What's up, guys? Welcome back to Road Rules 98. I'm your host, the entire cast of The Wiggles. This is the Colecast, and we are shooting live from Cole HQ in Anderson, Indiana. And today is not as hot as it has been.
Thank goodness.
Had a little bit of a breeze on the drive in. There was condensation on my windshield. I didn't run the heat. It's not that chilly in the mornings, but
I did turn the AC off on the way in.
I drove with my windows down because I like that. I don't know where I was going with that statement. I'm going to be honest, which, guys, is a foreshadowing for this entire podcast. We have no plan. We were supposed to have Corbin on, but his pigs got out. And that is not a euphemism. We live in a society in Indiana where pigs getting out is actually pigs getting out. That is not a euphemism for some other emergency. Sometimes it happens. That's actually the second or third pigs getting out adventure that we've been on just this summer. So, guys, today I want to recap some of the conversation we had with Greg. And we're also going to dive a little bit into marketing. And I want to get a fresh take on this because this isn't necessarily something that Greg has a ton of experience with. Evan and I have talked at length about it. Evan and Nathan have talked at length about it. Nathan and myself. Logan has had thoughts and ideas. Charlie has had thoughts and ideas. People involved in marketing all have opinions, but we don't ask Greg because Greg is not in charge of marketing. So we're going to dive into selling. We're gonna dive into farmers markets and knife shows and hobby adjacent, or I guess adjacent hobbies to blacksmithing, where we can start to talk about how you get your dang stuff to sell. Because one thing that we talk about is we want to inspire you to make, but you can make 100 things. How do we get you to actually start moving it so that you can afford to get your next round?
If you figure that out, let me know.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to solve that today on today's podcast, guys. You heard it here first. On today's podcast, we're going to solve the financial crisis. It's where we're going today. So before we get into anything, Evan, what's going on with the Cole School of Iron? What do we have coming up?
That's a great question, and I wish I would have had that pulled up.
Maybe you should have asked me if I needed you to pull anything.
That's crazy. I wish I would have done that too. We do have a class from Mr. Charles Lionheart Ellis. That's his middle name legally. We've got stock removal, intro to stock removal knives. That is a full day of just grinding with Charlie on grinders and knives.
Nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
No. So we're doing that August 9th. Get your spots for that. We've got the Axe Intensive coming up again this year. That is, only 2 days this year. So a 2-day Axe Intensive class with Benton Frizzy.
We don't talk enough about Benton Frizzy.
No, we don't.
No, we do not.
Benton Frizzy has been a good friend of the company for a very long time. Benton Frizzy has purchased a press. Benton Frizzy has talked multiple people into buying a press. And last year at his Axe Intensive, every single student spent at least $3,000 to come in and buy an induction forge. One guy bought a double-sided press, every single die we sell, and an induction forge. One guy already had a press, but he bought an induction forge. Another guy bought an induction forge, and then later on, I believe he bought a press. But every single person in his class bought a machine. They use that as the trial for what press they want to buy. So this is my official shout out and thank you to Benton Frizzy. Our relationship has been wildly successful. Sometimes we text. Actually, a lot we text. We send pictures back and forth. He's a very funny person. He met my cousin and got to hear my entire family story about every individual in my family. I talk a lot about my dad. My cousin Nick spent a lot of time that day talking to Benton about my dad, about how I think the exact phrase that he said, in a broken world, it's good to know that Scott Stroll exists. So Benton is near and dear and close to our hearts. I'm not going to challenge you guys. I jokingly challenged you guys at one point on a podcast to up the sales from last year's class to everybody comes out. Every single person buys a double-sided. That was obviously a joke. Come out and support Benton, though. Learn from Benton. He has no free time. So all of his techniques are how to do it the correct way, the most efficient way, and make great products. So he's a highfalutin, high-powered business lady. And so when he gets time in the forge, it has to be intentional. And that's what this class is about forging with intention. So sorry for interrupting you, Evan, but I just wanted to make sure to get Benton his flowers because he has been just a wonderful asset to us specifically as Cole, but also as a wonderful asset to Southern Indiana as a blacksmith and a tool maker.
Very true. If you want to look more into Benton, River City Forge and Tool, this is his website, rivercityforge.com. You can see all the cool stuff he's done there and kind of get a taste of what you're in for the Axe Intensive. Outside of that, we've got the Intro to the Forged Blade coming up on October 18th. That is Brett Onink again. He'll be a new man. Just got back from Alaska, which is very exciting to hear about that.
Also, we do talk a lot about Brett, but dadgummit, let's give him his flowers. Brett is the one that challenged us on the 25 kilowatt to understand if it could make crucible steel. We specifically carry a separate 25 kilowatt with a 2-turn ratio that is better at crucible steel. If you are interested in crucible steel and you want your induction machine to do that primarily, and we have just recently figured out how to make it work on smaller applications. So normally a 3 or 4 turn coil on a 15 kilowatt or 25 kilowatt is what you want. On the 15.2 kilowatts, I'm making coils with 5 turns and 10-inch stems, and they are heating beautifully.
Yeah.
So there is a good chance in the future, if we can figure out service and just a good way to understand how to acknowledge how somebody has a 15.1 turn ratio compared to a 15.2 turn ratio, there's a good possibility that in the future we'll offer a 15 kilowatt and a 25 kilowatt, and the 25 kilowatt will be a 15.2 turn. So when you go to order your coils, you'll have to tell us whether you have a 15 or a 25.
Yes. And on our YouTube page, Brett, if you want to get into crucible steel on an induction, he's got a video on our YouTube page of it.
I just watched it again this morning. I pulled it up to send it to somebody and left it running and was reminded at how poorly his personality transfers to YouTube because he is the warmest, funniest, cuddliest guy.
That's a good adjective.
And he just, it's a great video. Don't get me wrong. But it's a lot like watching Eric Hemker on Forged in Fire after you get to know him. And then you're like, oh, I didn't know Eric was on Forged in Fire. And you watch it and it's like,
is that Eric?
Is that Eric? We didn't do a great job at displaying his personality. I also think it was the first time he was on camera, so he's probably being a little bit more reserved. I know he was a little bit self-conscious about starting the video with "What's up, nerds," which is. Yeah, so I think that kind of shook him for the rest of the video.
It was
But
so good. It was powerful.
He is just the best.
He is.
And also, shout out Leslie, his wife. Also, just genuinely the best.
Better than Brett.
Better than Brett.
Better than Brett.
He is great because he's powered by Leslie. The two of them.
Powered by Leslie.
The two of them.
Brett Onink, powered by Leslie.
Are I love my mother and father, and I wouldn't replace them for anything. But if anything ever happens to my parents, they are going to get a phone call and adoption papers, and they are not that much older than me. So, just wonderful human beings, and come out and support them as well. Make sure that we give Brett his flowers, we give Benton his, and we talk about Brett a lot. But Brett is a wonderful guy, just a fantastic teacher, and I'm really excited to possibly actually be able to come out and make this class. It seems like every time he comes down, I have stuff going on. I was coming back from vacation the last time he taught a class, and in the 2 hours that I got here, so he was teaching a class. We should have got a full video. Actually, see if you can pull up Leslie's video of this. Leslie, we worked for about a month doing a surprise for Brett for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I believe. Yeah, it was Valentine's Day. And Brett was coming down using our induction forge, looking at options, and she called me and was like, "Hey, I want to get Brett an induction forge," and it was like, "Let's make it happen." You know, like Brett's one of those guys that if I would have personally had to buy the machine, I would have. I don't have that kind of money though. So, but what ended up happening is I got here secretly and was supposed to be unbeknownst to Brett for a couple hours. And while I was working on other stuff, it was when I didn't have an assembly guy. I did. You did. You were here. We were going through something to where I had a bunch of stuff to do that Saturday. She was like, "Oh, we're working. I'll work too," and pulled out her laptop, and we sat and we had a wonderful office time together. And in that time, I got to know her, and we got to share some of our backstories and got really close really quickly. And she talked me into buying a house.
I would say it. A month later, you bought a house from her.
Dude, not even a month later, like 2 weeks. It was I believe the third house. She showed me two, and I didn't really like either of them. And then I found this one, and I bought it for the barn and the property. The house is cool. It's, updated, but she worked a lot with me, and I made a couple decisions that she did not fully support. But it ended up working my way, and she was like, "Hey, sometimes it works being stubborn." So she worked with me and what I needed and stuff for the house. But did you pull up that video so that I can continue talking about the video?
Leslie has not accepted our follower request.
Whoa. Okay. So what ended up happening is we turned all the lights off in the shop, and I put on Spotify, it was called The Most Romantic Playlist Possible. And jokingly, she was like, "Put on romantic music." And I was like, "Well, I just found the most romantic playlist possible." And turned it on, and he walked out and couldn't find us for like 30 seconds. Had no idea where we were at. I was just standing next to our shipping
A-frame.
Yeah, frame. What's the word I'm looking for?
Crane.
Crane. Yes, standing next to our shipping crane with a sign that was a heart and it said "Be Mine, Bart." Or Brent. There's some...
Brent.
It was Brent. Okay. Because I guess at Starbucks, nobody ever gets his name right. And she said that would be really funny. There it is. Be mine, Brent. And just the way that I got to watch them interact was such a good reminder that love still exists. When you're little and you grow up and you watch your parents cuddling on the couch, and so it was just that feeling of like, oh, like this is just the most adorable thing on earth, and I'm so glad that they allowed me to be a part of that memory. So that was a weird part of the podcast where we got to talk about somebody else's relationship, but they're wonderful human beings, and I think it's okay to take the time to let them know that. I hope they listen. I hope our quality of podcast is good enough for them. What else is coming up?
After that, we've got Making It Stick by Charlie again. So that's a one-day Damascus class. You do not leave with a finished Damascus knife, but you will leave with a full-sized billet to make one at home.
And I believe Danny left with a couple billets last time,
He
right?
sure did.
Yeah.
It's a large billet.
Okay. Danny's also always working double time. He's always got a lot going on.
Something, always.
Yeah. So
You leave with a generous piece, and it's a good time.
Like 2 to 4 knives worth.
yeah. So the other cool thing about that is if you want to buy that course on coleschool.com and watch it and get lifetime access to it, and then come in and get hands-on experience, I do believe you'll get more out of it. I do believe that you'll do a little bit of studying on the front end, and be able to take that class.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you come and take the class in person, you do get the class online for free afterwards.
Well, you just lost us a sale.
Well, come take the class.
Yeah.
And that is on, let me see.
November.
November 8th.
November 8th.
Saturday, November 8th.
Also, we have some media coming out that I want to hint at. We have a 24-hour challenge, and that's all I'll say about that. That one was a fun one that we did a few years ago and ended up recording way too much. And so it has literally taken us 3 years to decipher the usable, what goes into a video and what is what do we like just because we know the people involved and what actually would make good content? It has probably been the bane of Evan's existence for 3 years.
It's been rough, but it's only a 12-hour challenge.
12 hour challenge. But we're literally actively recording. He just opened the door like Boo from freaking Toy Story.
Not Toy Story.
Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. Yeah, like mommy, I throwed up. I think I just broke his feelings. He'll be on next week, guys. That's foreshadowing. Corbin will be on next week since his pigs got out. Hopefully they don't get out again. But
If they do, it's a sign.
we've got the 12-hour challenge coming out. We also have a shop tour and a short class with, or is it? It's not short.
It's a full-size.
It's a full-size class.
Full-sized.
Class with Robert Burns coming out. Robert Burns is somebody that I have known for 15, 16 years and wish I've would have been able to spend more time around him. I admitted on the podcast he's somebody that I haven't kept up with, and as soon as somebody mentioned it, anytime anybody mentions his name, it's like, man, I wish I'd spend more time with him because he's a wonderful, just gentle
He's
spirit.
a lovely fellow.
Does a lot of restoration works for churches in the Pittsburgh area, right? Pittsburgh-ish. You were
I
literally
think so.
just
I know.
there.
I was just there. I should know.
Yes,
But
it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pennsylvania. But we've got a class coming out with him and a shop tour coming out with him. The shop tour will be on YouTube. The class will be on coaliron.com. We also have coalschool.com. Sorry. We have also adjusted some of our marketing strategies to just make more content and be more supportive of the community and give you guys tool tips. And do content surrounding the school and just some fun stuff that we have going on. So
And then We Are Makers
We
just
Are
released
That's right.
their podcast with Nathan today.
also,
Well, last week.
while we're giving people flowers, this was going to be a short podcast, but here we are, just being nice to folks. We Are Makers. I cannot say enough about them.
They were fantastic.
They were
It's almost 2 hours
so wonderful. Our podcast with them was pretty long too.
Yeah, it was.
So they're easy to talk to. They what I love about them is they're in the phase of their lives where they have a dream and they have a plan. They're not wondering and thinking and stunted by the possibilities. They're not in paralysis by analysis. They are actively doing cool stuff. They've got their magazine they've got put out. They made a bid on it. Maybe the coolest property I've ever seen in my life. Like, if you understand the aesthetic that I'm drawn to, it is that. So it is like, it's in the Scottish Highlands. It's an old farm that doesn't work. All of the buildings need completely redone, but it's overlooking what I would call mountains. I don't know if they're considered mountains outside of Indiana, but they are doing super cool stuff. And the coolest thing about them is this publication, if you go through, there are like 3 ads in this entire thing. This is not a publication that's made for ad space. This is why we want to kind of join what they're doing and support them, is this is all featuring makers of whatever medium. And one of the things is maybe I shouldn't say the part I was about to say. But their business model is awesome. I love them as humans. I love their business model. And as you go through it, like I said, it's all just highlighting different makers and what they do. And you can subscribe to this. You can get this internationally. Doesn't matter where you're at.
Do you want to give away a subscription today?
I already had a giveaway. planned.
Well, okay. That's fine. Maybe we can
Let
do
us
that
know in the
next week.
comments if you guys would be interested in doing a giveaway for We Are Makers subscription. And maybe a t-shirt.
Maybe a t-shirt.
Maybe a
That'd be good.
t-shirt. Maybe a t-shirt that maybe got done. Maybe a t-shirt that is supposed to get a final sign-off this week.
Okay.
Maybe.
Is it the T-shirt we've been talking about for 3 months?
Once again, every single time we get to, it's like, oh, dude, this is perfect. We see one little thing that's like, and in the complete antithesis of Kurt's work, we are digging into every single detail because Kurt's worth it. Not We're not going to give Kurt his flowers. We love Kurt, but we don't have time. Kurt, I love you. I'll give it to you in person. I will tell you how I will make you wildly uncomfortable with how much I love you. Back to We Are Makers. Guys, if you want to get inspired and you want to set aside screen time and you want something that is just gentle and relaxing, you can sit on your back porch in a nice wooden rocking chair with a gentle breeze blowing, and maybe you've got some chickens in the distance just baa-ing, and maybe some sheep running around, and you've got the sounds of the cows mooing. And then read this. You are unstoppable.
And it's more than a magazine. It's more like a coffee table book.
It is. Every single article is genuinely savable, heavy. You can read it many, many times, set it out on your coffee table. If you're a dang old physician of any sort, I'm talking orthopedics, I'm talking orthodontists, I'm talking all the orthos, I'm talking pediatrics, I'm talking whatever. Podiatrists, put this in your office.
No, not them. Not podiatrists.
Evan has a thing against podiatrists, I guess. Put this in your office. Support them. Support other makers that are featured in it. We have just been inundated lately with community, and I keep talking about it, but it's so freaking important to get involved. And so I'm glad we took the time at the beginning of this podcast to just talk about how important people are to us. And I hope that everybody out there can relate those same stories to somebody in their own life. And you guys can go out and pick up We Are Makers. You guys can come out and take a class. I'm hitting the table. Evan's going to hate me. But yeah, that's our updates. That's our half an hour of updates. What are we at time-wise now?
28 minutes.
28 minutes, guys. We spent 28 minutes just telling people
pulling a Peyton Manning at the end of the Super Bowl.
At the end of the Super Bowl. I'm not wasting time, though. That's the difference, because I'm not wasting time. If we are going to talk about being a part of a community and supporting a community, then we need to do the same thing. And this is my lead by example moment. I know that this isn't probably the most interesting part of the podcast, but if it gets 2 or 3 people connected to We Are Makers, if it gets one person in here to take a class with Charlie, if it gets somebody inspired to do something, then it's all worth it. And I'm so sorry for everybody else that I've wasted 28 minutes of your time, probably now 32. So moving on. Let's talk about third homes, right? In the idea of, let's blend the idea of, because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of Wikipedia articles as people mention things. And that's like kind of what I'll listen to a podcast and then I'll just like, when they say something, I'll go to Wikipedia page so I can learn about it real quick. So I feel like I'm smart. Like I totally knew that all along. I knew it the whole time. So this idea of third homes disappearing, you have your churches, you have your corner bars, you have YMCA, things like this. This is the idea of third home, where somewhere where people go outside of work and home, or third spaces, third places. Everybody calls it kind of something different, but for a lot of us, that is our forges. That is Warrior's Way. That is Black Horse. That is Adams Forge out in California, right? I always struggle to not say the 5 that we kind of interact with the most. So this time we got Adams Forge in there. They're a wonderful organization. Sofa's another great one. Like I said, the ones we don't talk about. But I want to talk about this idea of creating third places as a means to support our own sales and our own kind of ecosystem. Because right now, if you go to a farmer's market, which could be considered a third place, but it's once a week during the summers at most. So as we get into a place where social media is dying, you know, I think everybody can kind of acknowledge we're not selling knives as soon as we post them. We're not selling tools as soon as we post them. Social media is not the wave of the future anymore. It's still very current and it's still very active. But I think the wave of the future is going back more to in-person interaction. So there's a meme that I saw recently that was, has anybody tried in live podcasting where you and 4 of your friends just get together and discuss a topic? And somebody like responded to it and was like, this guy just discovered hanging out. And it's like, I think we're it's sad we have lost that, but we're getting back to that where, you have concert venues, you have coffee shops, you have bowling alleys, you have gyms that are starting. We have a gym that gave away classes to some of their subscribers, or what would you call them? Patrons? I don't know. There's a cigar group that wants to do, they have a group of people there that they want to come out and take classes. So these places are becoming third spaces. My question to you, Gregory, is how do we as makers get involved in those that are adjacent, and what are some of those adjacent things that you can think about that you think it would be beneficial? Like, if somebody wants fresh produce, they're probably going to be interested in more of the handmade style of knife than, Chicago cutlery. If somebody wants locally roasted beans, why wouldn't they want to know who made their knife? So it's the same way with blacksmiths, where I have one or two hammers from a few people, but I don't have 10 from anybody, because I know enough people that I want their work to be represented with my work. And there's a sense of pride when I make something with a tool that Kurt made for me, knowing that the lineage of this piece that I just made goes back to Kurt freaking Fehrenbach, which goes back to Clifton Ralph, which, the anvil that I'm buying, I feel so bad right now. The anvil that I'm buying, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's out of the Columbus area of Ohio. If I said his name, most people on the podcast would recognize it. In fact, that's your challenge. If you're listening, comment who I'm talking about.
I thought you were buying it from Jeff, so I don't.
So that goes back through anything I make on that anvil. It was my friend Jeff's anvil, and then it was my friend Adlai's anvil before that, and then Adlai got it from his mentor, and I can't remember his mentor's name.
Oh yeah,
but
I don't know that.
So what are some of those kind of third spaces that you can think of that these guys out there that are trying to sell their tools, that are trying to sell their work, can get involved with, that have a similar thought process as far as like handmade is better than getting it off eBay?
So for like knife makers, especially tactical space, check your veteran halls. Veterans love handmade knives and such, like your VFWs and Legions, and they might even want to partner with you and do a knife raffle or something of the sort.
God, if there's one thing veterans love, it's a raffle.
Yeah.
It's a
Let's
freaking
gamble.
raffle. Yeah. Gambling, and then the best part is they never keep the money. They just buy drinks for everybody there.
Yeah.
It's never like, oh, I won the raffle. This came at the perfect time. I need to pay my electric bill. It's always like, oh, I won the raffle.
Round on me.
Round on me.
Well, in a VFW hall, it's also like standard.
Yeah.
If you win the raffle and don't buy a round, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So VFW is a good one. I think the tactical space is a great area because a lot of those everyday carry guys have, Benchmade or Montana Knife Company or Gerber, kind of those bigger names in the production knife space, and they're spending quite often just as much as they would to get something handmade.
Oh yeah.
So if you buy a knife from Logan, you're not spending any more than you're spending on the top of the line Spyderco's. Maybe not. Spyderco probably doesn't go up. I'm not as familiar with Spyder. Benchmade. Yeah, Benchmade gets up there.
Yeah.
So I think, the tactical area is a good one. Even, we call them gun tubers. That space of some of them are, I wouldn't quite call tactical or everyday carry, but they have that same interest in like, well, I shoot a 1947 Mosin because it was made well and I can still shoot it. The one guy in particular that I follow that I like a lot is he's a younger guy. I've never seen him shoot anything pre like 1960. And that's kind of where his interest lies. I understand that most people have a wide breadth, but
They like Gucci guns.
yeah. Oh, specifically within gun tubing.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of guys out there that are into it's just like blacksmithing, right? Are you into tooling? Are you into ornamental? Are you into power hammers? Are you into presses? There's so many subgenres and then subgenres within the subgenre
Oh, yeah.
and specialties within the specialty. You can get away with a lot of your knife might cross the gamut for a few people, and also one of your knives might not. But if they mention that, well, hell yeah, I can make. Oops, sorry, Evan. Yeah, I have to bleep that. Heck yeah, I can make an antler handle. I don't prefer it, but if it's going to make a sale,
Yeah.
I can make an antler handle, and maybe I can learn a couple things. Oh, I can make a skagel. I can call Rocco or Lucas and get a couple pointers and learn a couple things. That is not an emergency. So. That's literally just the loudest ringtone I could find on the phone. That's the only reason it's the ringtone. It has to cut through the shop noise. But getting into those areas are, I think, kind of first level. What are some of the other things that you can think of where getting involved in that space you think might be beneficial to a craftsman?
I think use your head on like what are some other areas like so the gun guys you can compute it to blacksmithing. Car guys same way.
Yeah.
Just try and think.
Greg, what do you know about car guys? What do you think you know about car guys?
I know nothing about car guys.
Okay.
As I'm wearing an old work shirt.
Yeah.
For a car repair shop. And just, or like, I've made knives for leather workers, and but like I've just made the knife because they wanted to do the handle, and so I just did a blade, heat treated it for them, and said, "Here you go."
Okay.
Gone.
So now we have car guys, we have tactical guys, we have veterans, leather workers.
Yeah, reach out to your other artisanal craftspeople.
Yeah.
Potters and leather workers. I've talked to a wood carver that wants to make some tools together and stuff like that.
Yeah, so getting involved with just honestly that we can kind of cover the gamut and say like other makers.
Yeah.
Right? Think about
We are makers.
We are makers. Think about Maker Camp. It's not just blacksmithing. We talk about it because of the blacksmithing side, but they have, I think it's Langmuir goes out there. It might not be Langmuir, but like CNC stuff.
Okay.
They have a timber framing class, right, Evan? They do a timber framing class out there. I mean, they have everything like that. The Blackthorn throughout the year hosts a myriad of events, and Makers Camp is kind of the culmination of going to figure out what class you want to take. Like that's kind of their advertisement for like, hey, guys, come out here and have a good time. And then also most of these guys will have some sort of part of classes that we have throughout the year. And I know that they're scaling up over time and doing more and more as Austin has time to. It's a huge undertaking. But getting involved with other makers, they might love a finished knife, but they don't enjoy the forging process. They enjoy the handle process, right? They might love making skagels because it's leather work.
Yeah.
But they don't like forging, or they don't have a forge, and they might want to come over and forge with you and teach you some of their leather working, right? Maybe you can make holsters for like Kydex and stuff for guns. Well, they can transfer that to making Kydex for a knife very quickly. We're going to get demonetized. We've said the word gun like 17 times.
Should we switch to pew pew?
Squirt. We are specifically talking about squirt guns. Nerf brand squirt guns.
Nerf makes squirt guns?
I'm sure they do. Why would they not? They're the most recognizable toy gun name. Why would they not? Evan, pull it up. Do they make squirt guns? I will be furious if they don't. I will literally be furious. And then I will call Mattel because I'm assuming Mattel owns them.
I think that's a good assumption.
and it's either them or Hasbro, and honestly, one of them probably owns the other.
Probably.
So, but I will be so mad. Like, how do you not make squirt guns if you're Nerf?
Because
Yeah, they own the Super Soaker.
Okay, good. Okay, got it. Wonderful. All right, moving on. So when you're in the space and you're doing some crossover, I think with the makers, getting into those spaces with them, you're doing a lot of kind of either you're just giving them supplies, or you're trading experience for experience. So it's either I'm going to sell you a bunch of knife blanks, or it's come over, I'll teach you how to forge it, you teach me how to carve the handle. Right?
yeah,
Okay. So that is also how I feel. Do you think that there are any spaces that just purely lead to somebody might buy it, somebody might pick it up?
not that I can think off of the top of my head.
So the one that I can think of is the what do they call them? Corporate events. So our friend Josh Weston used to just go to parking lots, set up
Yeah.
his forge, and then when people took their lunches, they would come out and they would be able to either watch him forge or forge a knife with him, and then that person would be able to buy a knife or buy a bottle opener or buy, whatever you have out there, candle holder, which is going to be the second part of what I talk about today. Now that I said that out loud, that's a foreshadowing. But corporate events, I think, are a good one for it. I think club events. So you have a cigar club that has reached out that we're currently trying to figure out how to make a cigar cutter class for them. They want to do 18 people, 18 cigar cutters in one night is
That's a lot.
hefty. That is a good amount. And we want to do as little pre-made components as possible.
Yeah.
So we want it to be as start to finish as possible. I don't want to just order a bunch of stuff from Send Cut Send and then have them peen over some rivets. That doesn't sound like fun. So, and we also want to keep it at a fair price point. We don't want it to be a $1,200 class for every 18, each one of the 18 people, right? We want it to be something they can walk away with, something, have a good experience. But I think clubs and events like that, we've been going out to a winery and advertising the school. And when people walk up, the first thing they do is they take our examples, they grab it, and they say, "Oh, this is super cool. My son would love this. How much is it?" So what we've done is we've actually intentionally made a few wands and, railroad spike knives, dice, stuff like that. And we sell them for petty cash. And that goes to buying Evan lunch when he's out on a day trip or something like that. And it's not making us a ton of money. But if you're doing that intentionally, I could see that working. I
Yeah.
could see going out to, the winery hosts a concert series in the summer. And so that's what we're going out there for. And they've been generous enough to let us go out and do that for free. And they also have kind of the same ideology of like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And we want to support our community. And this is something cool that they think what we're doing is cool. So they invited us out there. So yeah, I think getting involved in those spaces, like, call your YMCA and see if they're doing a community event.
Yeah.
We went to a brewery festival, and
You and Josh were making bottle openers there, weren't you?
no, I was making bottle openers, and I charged, because I was advertising the school, I was charging like $10. You come and do it with me, and this is an advertisement for a school. But the problem with that is it's a brewery festival, so there's a lot of drinking going on, and there was at least one person that I had to be like, "Hey man, listen, if you stop by the shop anytime, I'll do this with you for free, but in good conscience, I can't let
We're
you."
not doing this today.
Yeah, I can't let you near my forge. And he was really cool about it. He was an older gentleman. I don't know that conversation would have been the same with like a 23-year-old. Yeah, fine, I'm good. But I think going out to something like that, there's a local beer fest going on. Let me call. Oh, we're demonetized again. I said beer, but let me go out to that. Let me call them. Hey, can I come out and sell bottle openers? Can I come out and sell, coasters. Can I, whatever, figure out what your product line is that you want to make, and then target your audience off of that. So if you absolutely love making knives, go to a freaking gun show, dude.
Yeah.
We talked about that. We might be going, we might be trying to figure out, not we might be going, we're in the very early stages. We might be trying to figure out if it would be worth our time to go to a gun show based off of the cost of the
And in
booth.
Indiana, there's those shows. Every single county has their own.
Well, so a little known fact about Indiana is because it's so central, they built one of like a state of the art
Convention center.
conference center.
Yeah.
So Indiana is, at least at one point, was like had more conventions than any other city in America. But I think now
we're
not
second.
anymore. Yeah. Okay.
To Vegas.
Okay. Vegas makes sense too.
Yeah.
Just
That's why like
because
the
of the weather.
NFL draft is here.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
all
we
of
have
that
the
stuff.
combine.
Yeah.
We have
Or not draft.
the combine. NCAA is based out of Indianapolis.
Yep.
So
And we get the Final Four every 4 years.
yeah, something like that. But we are spoiled in the fact that we have those available. We could go to the freaking reptile show. There's a whole weekend of just selling reptiles, lizards and geckos and snakes and eggs.
It's wild.
I don't know. I think there might be a subculture of
Yeah.
snake collectors that also like sick knives.
I've been there. It's pretty cool.
Are there sick knives?
No.
Dude,
There's
I
a
bet
lot
they
of
would like
snakes,
sick
though.
knives, though.
Yeah.
yeah, get some sick knives. Also, snake people freak me out. You know, I'm not on board with snakes. Snakes from a distance are fine. I'm not necessarily afraid of them. It's just like if you're a snake person, I'm afraid of you, not your snake.
Well, like back to the convention center and Vegas, the second largest car convention is in Indianapolis every year.
And that's more of a B2B convention, right? That's like so like if you own like a performance shop, you would go there to meet manufacturers.
Yes, but I believe PRI's you still have to like sign up for a ticket, but PRI is open to the public, whereas like SEMA, which is the largest one, is not. SEMA, you have to be industry tied.
Yeah. Well, and so going back to conventions, automotive, that's kind of how Neil got his start. Neil Kamamara is.
Yeah.
He was in the automotive industry. He was building hot rods. He got hooked up with Bailey. He was like, I had the same tools I used to make hot rods I can use to blacksmith with. His grandpa was a blacksmith, wanted to honor his legacy. So, and if I'm getting any of that wrong, I'm so sorry, Neil. But you know, the couple conversations I've had with him, I know that he's tied with the car industry and with Bailey Industrial. I couldn't remember if our hydraulic supplier was Bailey Industrial or if the car one was Bailey Industrial. But I think it is the tool company is Bailey Industrial.
I believe so.
Our supplier, I think, is Bailey Hydraulics.
I believe so.
But anywho, moving on from that, I think that get your product that you want to sell and market it towards people who are at those events where those are selling. If you're a blacksmith at the IBA selling hammers and tongs, that's a bad example because of what we've talked about in the past with everybody in Indiana buys everyone else's tools. But if, going to a blacksmithing event and selling hammers and tongs is going to be a lot different than like Gnome, who just cleaned up at Blade Show because he went to a knife maker show with hammers.
Yeah, hundreds of hammers.
Right. So go to the market where people are buying what you're selling. If you go to a cooking event, right, that's where you would sell chef's knives.
Yeah.
Going to Blade Show with a bunch of other people, that's about meeting the industry, and there are knife collectors that do come. But a lot of that, and most people I talk to, is more about getting industry connections and finding support in their community. Whereas Gnome went with hammers, which a lot of the guys out there don't make, and cleaned up. So find that type of market where you can go in and make candle holders and go to the lady at the farmer market. Don't open your own booth. Make candle holders and go to the lady at the farmer's market that makes candles in her garage and say, hey, I'll sell you 15 of these for $10 a piece, and then you can sell them for $20 as an add-on to your candle or whatever.
It's a great idea.
Right? Little stuff like that. So that brings me to part 2 of finding those third spaces right? So number one is find those third spaces where you can go and your sales actually have an impact, as opposed to like being a show or a convention or an event based around your community. All those people typically already have and do what you're doing. Whereas if you go to an event that is based around your product, not your community, you're going to have a lot better luck, right? Like, you don't go to a beekeeper's convention to buy honey. You go to the farmer's market to buy honey.
Yeah.
The beekeepers go to the beekeeping convention, but they're not probably selling a ton of honey at the convention. Part two, what are you making that other people aren't?
So recently I've been trying to get into making single piece spurs,
Okay.
and they are not really made anymore. And that's an area I'm wanting to get into.
Okay, that's it. Okay. So I say that because as you go to these events, the easiest way to make sales is to create conversation. And you have to create conversation by standing out, right?
Yeah.
So it is yes, we wanted a C-frame press after doing a little bit of investigation and stuff like that. But the reason that we began to pick up in sales was because we stood out against anybody else making presses. They were making H-frame or 4-post presses. There was not a C-frame, household power press on the market. We were different. We set ourselves aside. Excuse me. So I can tell you right now, when I go to a farmer's market, if there's a blacksmith, they've got, if it's a really good blacksmith, they've got chef's knives and paring knives. If it's any blacksmith, they have hooks, they have bottle openers, they have
Grilling tools,
right? We can probably spend another 15 seconds and get 100% of what you see. What are you going to do that's a little bit different?
Candle snuffers, candle holders are a great product at farmers markets.
Candle snuffers, candle holders.
Yeah.
Coffee accessories, because at every single farmer's market, there's a guy selling fresh roasted coffee beans.
Yep. Your coffee scoops or...
Yeah, get a little bit into do the most minor amount of woodwork and create a vegetable tote that they can bring back and forth to the farmer's market every week and carry their vegetables home in and put it on their counter, and they're done. And they don't have to sort it and organize it and have it in their 50-cent Aldi bag. But stand out from your competition, right? Competition's a weird word because there's not going to be like 50 blacksmiths at your event, but do something a little bit different. What other vendors typically get there, right? The one in Pendleton, there's a guy that does homemade spices, and he does books. Oddly enough, he does like he's either Mennonite or German Baptist. I can't remember. So he does like
Pendleton, probably German Baptist.
He writes theology, and he makes spices. And you can buy the spices in a Ziploc bag for like $3. These are not accurate prices. These are just examples. You buy the spices in a little Ziploc bag for like $3, or in a shaker bottle that they have made with their nice little sticker on it and everything for like $6. Go to that guy and say, hey, man, I'd like to make a spice rack or a little book display for you.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in buying that? Hey, would any of your do you have customers that only buy spices from you? Do you think they'd be interested in a spice rack that is specifically built for your bottle that you get made with your nice little sticker on it? So it showcases your sticker and they can read your label, and I will forge it and build it in such a way that it actually looks like it's product sitting on a shelf at Target or Kroger or whatever. Little things like that set you apart. And then even if you just take the one-time loss and say, hey, man, I'm going to build this and I'm going to give it to you for you to display with. If you just do me a favor and leave my business card underneath it, so whenever anybody asks about it, they'll come to me and I can make them one just like it. Like little things like that. I think that there is still space for the one shop, one man maker area. I think that there is still space for ingenuity, right?
Yeah.
There's so much room for us to be able to go into spaces and do what we love. And a lot of times I think people get held up on well, I made what I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Now it's not selling. So
Yeah, I fall into that trap a lot.
yeah, well, so we have like the horse track here.
Yeah.
And so Spurs might do well. I don't know.
Well, and like there's the Henry County Saddle Club that I never go to but should.
Yeah.
As we're having this conversation, it's like, oh yeah, I should do
There's a
that.
ton of stables in Daleville, and I don't know if Daleville's in Henry County or Madison County or
It's in
Delaware. They're
Delaware.
like they're right in the middle of everything.
Where
They could be
the
in any of
railroad
them.
track that separates Chesterfield and Daleville's the county line.
Okay. So
Daleville's Delaware, Chesterfield's Madison.
yes. Okay. Well. So never mind. That is a
I
local.
know
yeah.
Daleville's
That-
Daleville's Delaware County.
Yeah.
I know that.
Okay. I'm sure our listeners in California and New Mexico are loving our
Yeah,
local
the
county
local
talk. So that kind of sums my thoughts and my theories up on third spaces and creating your own. Like I said, this is like, we've talked about it with Logan and Evan and Nathan and Charlie at length, but we're really just getting into it. So what are some of the things that you see? And this is where I feel like I'll stop rambling and you can have an opinion here for once. What are some of the things that you see being beneficial to people moving into those third spaces and trying to create sales and create a community of customers in those third spaces?
Well, so like you've got my wheels turning. So Matt is a coffee roaster that goes to the same farmer's market I do. I'm going to make some coffee scoops for him now and be like,
He makes
"Here."
good coffee too.
He does. Yeah, and he roasts it all in his garage,
Mm-hmm.
like most coffee roasters. But and we've got a large Amish population. I might try and figure out a product that say, hey, you want to display this in your booth, maybe like a garlic knife or something like that.
Or a hat hook. They all have hats.
A lot of the Amish, if for stuff like that, they'll just make it themselves. But yes,
So, you know, in your 30 seconds, I feel like this is kind of fizzling out because we've kind of gotten to the end of our thoughts on it. But, you know, in your experience, do you feel like you have been caught in that same, like I said, like, well, I've made it because I liked it, but it's not necessarily what people want?
oh, 100%. That's most of what I do.
Do you feel like you've one of the things that we've talked about that you do is you'll leave scales off and let people pick out their own scales? Do you think that that's even with that, would that be another example of like learning, does the purple sell better than the blue? Does the Kydex sell better than the leather? Does, you know, have you paid attention to that at all?
No, because I've never had that much inventory of colors. I've been pretty much black scales. You can pick your liner color.
Okay.
And really, I haven't ever gotten into removable hardware. And if I was doing that at a farmer's market, that's the way I would do it going forward, would be
sure.
removable hardware so that you could have it all done. And like how Logan routes scales and stuff. If
Yep.
you had already pre-made scales and then you could just slap it together for them at the booth would be the way to go.
Yeah. Cool. That would be sick. Let's move on.
Okay.
I feel like we've exhausted this. Evan, what I want you to do to close this out, I really liked the baseball question, but I don't think it hit very well.
I had so many people ask me, what was that 5 minutes
We
about?
tried. It was an attempt, guys. Sometimes we try wacky things. Evan, I want you to go into Google and I want you to just prompt me a random blacksmithing question. Just willy-nilly, and let's end this with whatever comes up.
That's going to take a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
What? So let's talk about your
keep
K75.
talking.
What happened with your K75 and what did we learn?
So I have a refurbished K75, and we tried something new on it. And
This is very, very refurbished, by the way, guys.
it doesn't even really resemble a K75 at this point.
This is a super awesome machine, but it is also very refurbished. There's a reason we didn't sell it.
Yeah. We have the expanding collars that hold the cylinders in. And so the cylinder wasn't tight enough in the ram, and the collar came out, and it was a mess. And another thing I learned is don't hit the foot pedal when your expanding collar is not in the machine. It can potentially shoot your piston into your ceiling.
So you have tools on hand, but you don't necessarily have every single tool known to man in your garage by any means.
No, well, and the KA is my first powered forging equipment.
Right.
I've done everything by hand to this point.
What did it take for you to get the KA rebuilt with your, we'll say, moderate tools on hand? You don't have specialty tools made just for the K75. It's like you just have what a normal guy who works on his car would have.
I used a pipe wrench.
Yeah.
That's the only tool I used to put it back together and get it running again.
Yeah, that's the part that I love about the KA75, and honestly, with our presses too, our power hammer will be a little bit different, but with the KA75 and the presses, it is so easy just to get things back together.
Yeah,
and
especially when they haven't been modified as greatly.
Yeah,
this one.
yours might have been a little even trickier than a customer's, but if you have an issue with your press, if you have an issue with your KA75. If you get us on the phone for 15 minutes max, like that's like a troubleshooting, like that one took us a long time, is 15 minutes. Even if you have no clue what you're doing, we can walk you through how to fix it, send you an email with pictures, and there's been like twice that I've had to actually send an electrician out, and both times it turned out that the power in the shop was bad.
Yeah.
We design things to be very easily maintained. There's a reason why when you go on Facebook Marketplace, guys are selling their 5-year-old press for like $300 less than what they paid for it. It's because it still works.
Well, on Facebook Marketplace, a lot of times it's $300 less than what we currently sell them at.
Yeah, that is an actual problem that we're facing. Is guys are posting like presses they paid say $5,000 for 6 or 7 years ago, and now they're selling them for $7,200 because ours is $7,500.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and they're selling. That's the thing. Well, the person next to them is saving on shipping. They also have an immediate contact point that, and I get it. No shame on anybody to turn around. I'm not telling people not to resell our presses or anything like that. No shame on anybody that is transitioning to not owning one of our presses. But we started looking at a buyback program probably it wasn't last winter, it was the winter before. So like the very beginning of 2024. And I tracked Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. I tracked a few different places people resell. And I was monitoring how much they had it listed for, how long it took to sell, and if the price dropped at any point. And we're talking, I would sit on Facebook just popping around Facebook Marketplace and putting in different zip codes for like 45 minutes a day. Okay, this was posted today. And then I would know to go back to that area the next day. Okay, well, that didn't sell. Okay, well, it took about 3 days and they didn't take any money off. And we were consistently seeing that these guys were able to get pretty much their entire investment back. And so when people call now and they're like, hey, I have a 12-ton, I'm going to get a 25-ton. Do you guys do a buyback program? It's like, no, but the good news is you're going to make more money off selling it to somebody, and you're not going to have any problem selling it. Yeah. So that's why I don't do a buyback program, is because it's not worth it to the customer to sell it back to us, because we're just going to, we're going to essentially lowball you, because we have to run through maintenance on it and take time. And then you've got to pay the shipping to and from.
And something that you might sell and say, hey, just so you know, you're going to have to align the bronze. I haven't aligned it in a while, and you would be comfortable selling that because it's a person-to-person sale. That's totally acceptable. I can't do that as a business. So I have to put a little bit more time and effort into it to where buying a press back and reselling it would actually make it more expensive.
Well, yeah, because at a minimum, we would replace the bronze.
We would replace the bronze, swap hydraulic fluid, and then
Hoses, maybe.
hoses,
depending on-
maybe. And then I would say probably 50% of the time, valves.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that even if it's not leaking right now, or even if it's not being buggy right now, that's our number one service call is valves. And that's just the nature of having a valve. It's not like we buy chintzy valves. It's just like that's what valves do. They break in, seals break, over time. So cool. Evan, what our question is.
What size hammer should I be using?
Dang, that is vague.
Yep.
It can be vague. I use a little bit heavier hammer than a lot of people. I use a 4.5 pounder, but I would say anywhere in the 2.5 to 3.5 is a good range.
I was going to say I'm on the heavy end and I swing a 3.5.
I think 3.5 is probably going to be your most average between everybody. I've also
I think around here,
yeah,
I think Indiana also just swings big hammers.
that's very true. And also now that I have the KA, I've been picking up my 2.5 pounder way more than my 4.5. But before I didn't have powered forging equipment at home, so I needed a larger hammer to get the material to move faster.
I think the real answer to this is very nuanced. It's very job specific. What are you doing? Are you doing finishing work? I've got a 12 ounce that I use all the time for small scrolls and the one piece bottle openers, but I wouldn't say it's my main hammer, but I use it a lot, right?
Yeah.
Are you striking? Are you using an 8 pounder?
Yeah.
Right? Or are you like Rob and Paul and swinging a 20 pounder?
Yeah, Rob's main hammer at this point is a 16-pound sledge.
Yeah. So I think it's very nuanced, but if you want to say this is coming from somebody who has they've got their forge, they've got a small anvil, they have just gotten kind of into their specific realm of what they're interested in, and they want to start expanding their lineup of hammer. What I will tell you is you're going to want a light and a heavy rounding hammer. So you're probably going to want a 2 or 2.5, and then like a 4 to 5. You're going to want a cross peen and a straight peen, and you're going to want those typically to be a medium weight, so a 3, 3.5. And then, dude, that'll get you
90
something percent. You have specialty hammers, and you can decide whether you like the French peen style or if you like,
Well, I rarely use a peen at all.
Yeah.
I use the anvil for that.
I use it for detail work. So if I'm going through and I'm
Putting
say
a
I've got a
texture.
bar, putting a texture, or I want to have just a kind of reduced collar inside of something, or what I'll do a lot of times is if I'm doing doing like a hook that's 2 pieces, and what I'll do is I'll wrap them around each other, and I'll do a little tack weld. What I'll do is I'll take a peen and I'll just peen over the sides to kind of flush that against, so it's not such an abrupt meeting at the bottom. But yeah, I think if you are just like, you've got one hammer and you're like, I love this, I know exactly what I'm going to start doing, before you buy any specialty hammers, you buy a small and a large rounding hammer.
Well, and you don't even have to purchase a rounding hammer. You can get a Harbor Freight mechanics hammer and then round one side. That's how I started.
Yeah, you can do that. I think that would be good for a starter, but if you're trying to get into the specialty tools and you're asking the question, what size rounder
that's
should,
true.
what size hammer then I use, you have at least a baseline understanding of the weight of my hammer matters. But I would say a small and a large rounder, and then a straight peen and a cross peen. And that'll get you going. And as you progress, you might find that you don't need any other hammers because you prefer top tooling over a specialty hammer.
Yeah.
You know, so get you a dangle claw hammer for your carpentry work. And then I think the only fifth hammer that I would add is if you do start to get into top tooling is get a striking hammer. Get a 5-pound soft face hammer. Boom. Bob's your uncle. Evan, you have any announcements that go in at the end?
Nope.
Are we good? All right, guys. I think that's going to wrap it up. This one's been a little bit of a free spirit episode. Check out We Are Makers, guys. Check out Brett. Check out Benton Frizzy. Check out also this week. I want to highlight Nate Howitt. He's been talking to me a lot. I think it's NH Knives on Instagram. Nate Howitt, he's a wonderful, wonderful human. He's a teacher. He's inspiring children. He's making knives. He's teaching them how to do pattern welded steel in class because he teaches welding. And he is just a lovely human. He's Indiana's own Jeff Dotterman. He is truly.
Oh yeah, I chatted to him the other day.
Yeah, he is Indiana's Jeff Dotterman. I think if they met, the world would explode. I think it's just too much positivity. All right, guys, thanks for spending your time with us. I swear next week we'll be back on track and have more of a schedule. This was a little bit more freeform and we didn't know where we were going, so I apologize for anything that sounded wonky, wacky, or was just flat out wrong. Do you have anything to pitch?
No, I'm good.
All right, see you guys.
Bye. So
Give me the little Morse code beep, the breaking news, the beep, 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 beep. Give me that breaking news sound effect.
breaking news.
This is just still smooth jazz. All right, Evan's clearly not doing what I'm telling him. He will be written up for insubordination very shortly. Greg has an update from Warriors Way. We weren't going to talk about this because we didn't have clear details. We were going to talk about it next week, but we got breaking news.
As soon as we just got done, I pulled my phone up and I have a text from good old Jeffrey Dotterman, and it involves our good friend Brett. So Jason Knight donated his motorcycle to Warriors Way for them to raffle off.
His Boba Fett Kawasaki.
Yes.
Suzuki,
Suzuki, I believe.
I believe, yeah.
Can you pull the Warriors Way post up?
Producer Evan, if you're going to do anything, you might as well just pull that up.
So they did a raffle, and our good friend Brett purchased thousands of dollars worth of tickets.
Such a sweet man.
He is.
And the thing is I know that if he didn't win, he would still, knowing he didn't want to
care.
win, he didn't care. He was doing it to support Warriors.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was like a month and a half long. It was like a month and a half long for the raffle because they were trying to get the money for it. But so Brett bought a crap ton of tickets, and they did the raffle last night, and the guy that won donated the bike to Brett. So congratulations, Brett. And I really should pull up the winner's name and give him a shout out.
Yeah, let's shout out the winner for being a sweet sport. And Brett for having a sweet sports bike.
Yeah, too bad they didn't do the drawing just a little bit before his trip to Alaska.
Phil Hicks.
Phil Hicks.
Phil Hicks.
Well, thank you, Phil, for being an awesome guy.
Thank you, Phil. We gave Brett his flowers on the beginning of this podcast, and you gave him his motorcycle at the end.
Much cooler.
You love him way more than we love him. So someday I'll be able to repay what he's done for us.
Yeah, the thing's
there's
cool.
Brett's new motorcycle.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
So-
Brett.
Congrats, buddy.
All right.
Bye for
Good
real
day.
this time.
Yep. Find the work, do the work.